something just between you and me. When I hear your voice, I know I'm finally free.
You join me in an alleyway because it is too windy outside there. So if you've heard of Bondi Beach, which I'm guessing you have done, it is straight down there. We are just staying on this main road, 2 seconds to the left. And straight this way takes you to Bondi Junction, which is the city train station, and it takes you to all the different stops everywhere. So your main transport here are buses and trains, no trams. And today we're just going out for an explore, no idea where, so this isn't planned as usual. Now we're pretty much on Bondi Junction. The train station is around the corner, the main shopping centre is just there. But if you come down to Bronca Arcade, is the cheapest food I've seen in the city centre, including Melbourne, in a long time. $4 for Asian food per tub. These are all the options here that you have, $4, $4.50. The name of it, if you're looking, is Fresh Hot Food, just as simple as that, but come here, it smells great. We are here in the eastern suburbs right there at Bondi Junction, and then we're going to go into Central Station, which is here. All of this is pretty much a downtown central bit of the city. Circular Quay is where the ferries go from, and the Opera House and the bridge and all that. So we're now off, we're at Martin's Place, which is pretty much in the city centre, but we're actually going to do a 10-minute walk to Circular Quay. But just in terms of how much that costs from Bondi Junction to here, it costs $2.42 on the Opal card. We're on Elizabeth Street somewhere, but Elizabeth Street is one of the main streets that goes through the city centre. But yeah, here you go. Lovely buildings all around, you can see, and round and round. It's not so many shops in this, but it's more offices, banks. So we are now at Circular Quays, which is all of this behind me here. So when you see all the different ferries and the docks and that, it's basically all of this here. You have the gorgeous harbour bridge up there, the Opera House is just behind that. We're in a place called The Rocks, which is one of the oldest suburbs in Sydney, and especially around the harbour itself. It's actually been built into a touristy area and another shopping area off of George Street, which is this road that carries on all the way down there. It's like hip, trendy, touristy, bit of everything. You have like all your little markets and different stuff. It's not massive, but it's just sort of like a little cute, hipstery sort of place. So it's nice, it's cool, very nice. If you want some Lucky Charms right here, there are actually some genuine Australian souvenirs. Kangaroo testicles. So if that floats your boat, you get some of that there as well, so it's pretty cool.
When you lift me up, I know that I'll never fall. I can speak to you by saying nothing.
Pretty much it just loops round back onto George Street here, and it carries on to the bridge there, which is pretty much where we're going to go next. But either way, there's quite a few things to see here, so I'm looking forward to showing you it.
Every day, you're saying the words that I want you to say.
So we're actually in the building right now. If you wanted to climb the harbour bridge, you come here and tickets are $200. So we're not going to be doing it today, but it is pretty cool if you do want to do it. Well, when you actually come in, you can see what different famous people have done it. Jamie Oliver is a chef from England, Matt Damon of course, Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. It's pretty cool, but this is where you go. You climb over there, through there, and it's at the side of the bridge on Cumberland Street, which is right next to The Rocks. We are now walking under the Sydney Harbour Bridge, right here as you can see. We are going to a lookout on the bridge that is said to be the same as climbing it to an extent in terms of the view, but instead of paying $200, we only pay $15. So where we are right now, we're just at the entrance to the arch here, and what you're looking for is a sign, is Pylon Lookout here. So just come here, you see the prices. It is general admission $15. So we are now climbing up the 200 steps to look out at the top. From 1924 to 1932, that's how long it took for the construction of the bridge, so 8 years. During that time, 16 people died. 2 of those deaths were actually people falling off the bridge. So since the 1830s, 20s, when Sydney was first established, there's always been a big debate whether to have a bridge connect the northern suburbs to the southern suburbs. So in 1911, a guy called John Job Crew Bradfield was made principal designing engineer of building the bridge, and they went through this certain design here that you can see at the completed state. So we are at the top now, and I'm going to be walking out onto the viewpoints. Look at that. Look at that, that's so cool. So cool. And if you see right there as well, there are people currently climbing the harbour bridge. It's a very popular thing to do with amazing views, pretty much similar to ours, a little bit higher, but saving us $200. contemplate with it.
Every day, you say in my heart. You say every day.
That is so beautiful outside, it really is. It's incredibly windy on all sides, but it is just such a beautiful, beautiful view. You have to do it. Opera House, the main city over there. That is the rocks just here as well. This is Circular Quay. All of that there is where the ferries come in and out of.
Every single night I find it harder to sleep, 'cause I need you here with me.
So we are back down now in the warmth. My hands are so cold, but such a stunning view from up there. You have to go up there, I recommend it 100%. And now we're going back down to the rocks, and we're gonna go and have a free tour. And I'm guessing it's one of those tours where you leave a donation after, but to learn about the history of the rocks. This cottage here is one of the oldest surviving buildings of the rocks in this area. It was actually built in 1816. The actual ocean, when they first came here 200 years ago, the water used to come up to the fence. So all of this is reclaimed land so they can make the harbour deeper. It's called the rocks because back in the day, the convicts, this was their area and they had to make the houses literally out of rock. Back in 1828, there was a robbery because that's where the National Bank of Australia used to sit on the corner down at the bottom of the street. They opened the door in the morning to the vault and they thought, oh, why is it robbed? And they didn't actually realise, but it was actually built by the convicts who knew an old sewage pipe actually ran past it and robbed £14,000, which is actually the equivalent of £20 million nowadays. The guys who robbed it were actually acquitted of it because there was a weird law in place that said anything they said in court wouldn't be allowed to be said if they'd already been given a hanging sentence before, which they'd had. And now there is a legend that the rest of the money hasn't been found, so there's a legend that £20 million is somewhere buried in the rocks. So what you're seeing behind me now is actually an example of what the poorest of the poor families would live actually in the rocks back in the 1840s. That's when they were built in the 1840s up until the 1970s. So if you actually come up to the observatory here, which is behind me, if you search it on Google Maps, we'll do the tour anyway, you'll see it, but you get such a stunning view on the other side of the harbour bridge. Yes, the Opera House is that way, but it's just beautiful, really beautiful. Love this, such a great tour, you have to do it. This building right here on top, called the Cyrus Building, is actually known as a brutalist sort of architecture. It is known for being extremely ugly, but one thing it is it is actually one of the original buildings built here in the rocks back in the 20th century. The government now of New South Wales is reclaiming all the public housing from here pretty much because they're selling it for millions and millions of dollars each because it's prime location property. The harbour is just there, and the last person they just moved out was a woman called Margaret who was 90 years old and was blind, and she has lived there for 60 years of her life. Even though they've had 2 movements to try and get it listed as a grade heritage building because it's got the right age, the history surrounding it, it applies, but it's been rejected twice. And when it's sold to the private owner, it is going to be built into luxury apartments, which I understand for the money, but in terms of the history and the heritage of this area, is one of the few remaining buildings like that hasn't been changed or knocked down. So that's part of the reason for it being so special, is because it doesn't look the same, it's the history. So yeah, sad as it is, that's what it is, but the tour is over. Fantastic tour. Lachlan was our tour guide, so massive thank you to him. And hour and a half, you learn so much. So definitely do it. Check the description below, the details will be there. So we're back home at our apartment now. Definitely check out those places though. Check out the viewpoint on the bridge. Definitely do the walk-in tour as well, and just check out the whole area because we've got so many more areas to explore, and this is just one day. Check out the video description below for all the details. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.